You can make thousands of dollars trading Bitcoin. I did. Market research is the most important part of trading Bitcoin. Trading platforms like Paxful are living, breathing marketplaces. If you don't pay attention, you might not get any sales, or worse, lose money. Ensure your market is sustainable, scalable, and profitable. Western Union is easily the most popular way to trade on Paxful. It's sustainable because a lot of people are familiar with Western Union and they've been around for a long time. It's scalable because there's no limit on how much can be transferred with Western Union. There's a problem though. Western Union is not profitable. There's too much competition. Reputable users are selling for 5% profit. You get 95 cents per $1 spent when buying, meaning seller makes 5% profit. This is what's called an overcrowded market. There's too much competition to make any profit jumping in now, especially with no reputation up against people with plus 612 and plus 813. By the time you factor in gas prices to drive back and forth to Western Union, you're losing money if you get any trades at all, not to mention Western Union's fees. Any credit/debit card is scalable because you can sell any amount you please. It's profitable since you're dealing with low fees. However, any credit/debit card is not sustainable. You have to sign up for a card processing service with an online terminal, for example Stripe, to accept cards. Look up a review for any of these services and people complain about their accounts getting terminated and funds frozen/stolen, even with high-risk accounts. Bitcoin is extremely high risk. People will try any which way they possibly can to screw you. It only takes one bad transaction and you're done. Screwed by the scammer and the corporation. Double penetration. If you're selling flowers out the back of your van, Stripe is fine. Bitcoin is an entirely different beast. There's only 2 offers for cash by mail on Paxful worldwide, and for obvious reasons. Very few want to mail cash. It may be sustainable, probably not, and it may be profitable, low competition so you can charge exorbitant prices, but it's not scalable. You won't be able to simply adjust your price or offer terms to get new customers. The few will come and go of their own free will. Profitability is the keystone of Bitcoin ventures. Gross margin is profit without accounting for cost. For example, at 50% markup, $100 becomes $150. You set the gross margin in the Create/Edit offer page, which you can access from the dashboard. Net profit is how much you made after it's all said and done. Let's do some math. Western Union is the cheapest way to buy Bitcoin on Paxful. It says so right on the homepage. So let's spend $200 for 0.33582403 Bitcoin. Search up Bitcoin calculator and you'll find one of these. I'm using CoinDesk's calculator. Looks like we're paying $200 for $199.91. Phenomenal. Assume we're selling for 50% markup, which means 150% total. Find a percentage calculator. I'm using percentagecalculator.net. Now, subtract any fees. In this example, we'll only account for Paxful's 1% seller's fee. Started with $200 and ended with $296.86. Your net is the difference between these two numbers. Feel free to round. In this example, your net profit is $96.86. Not bad for clicking around on the internet, eh? This is a completely feasible net profit. I sell at 50% at the time of writing. That's why I went with 50% for the example. I know the numbers already, so it was easy. Now that you've ensured your market is sustainable, scalable, and profitable, it's time to create an offer. If your feedback score is still 0, you'll need to buy coin a couple of times to get some reputation. Paxful.com/user/weactoниmpulse is my page if you'd like to buy from me. If it says user has no active offers, I'm offline. Also, you need at least 0.2 Bitcoin to begin trading on Paxful. Creating an offer is self-explanatory, and Paxful even has their own instructions to do it, which I have a link to in the description. However, there are important tips you have to know. Your offer terms need to be comprehensive, clear, and enticing. Explain the whole deal, how it's done, and why this is the right offer for your customer. Include important info or disclaimers. Any common problems, such as delays, should be mentioned in the disclaimer. Remember to include that you can refuse service to anybody. Your trade instructions should be short and simple because your process should be short and simple. Don't estimate your customer's intelligence, just make it as easy as possible to understand and follow. You can look at other people's offer terms for inspiration. On my Amazon offer, one part says read. Are you taking notes? If you don't know how to trade with a particular payment method, you can buy coin from somebody in that payment method and see how they do it. Then you can simply mirror them but with different words. Now that we've decided on a market and created an offer, we can begin to turn some profit. When trading Bitcoin, be wary of scammers. They're cunning and sly, so watch out. There's a link in the description to Paxful's own Bitcoin Seller Scam Defense Guide. It's an essential read. You're going in blind if you don't read it. Once somebody sees your offer and starts a trade, you'll have to chat with them. Ideally, your trade should go something like this. And then you see where we both say hi, and obviously he gives me the payment info immediately, and then I release and we leave feedback to each other. Please remember to leave feedback, guys. Please remember. Once you have the money, remember to release the Bitcoin and leave feedback. And you can see where the release Bitcoin button is. Sometimes you have to scroll down to see that, depending on the resolution of your screen. Or if you're using a mobile device, you have to scroll down too. Here's an obvious scammer. Don't deal with people who are promising something too good to be true. I usually like to have some fun. Tips. Be nice, but not boring or plastic. That's gay. Be yourself. Nothing wrong with personal flair. Check what other sellers in your market are selling at and adjust your gross margin for a competitive price. If you can afford it, that is. When you're waiting for a trade, make sure your profile says you're online by visiting a web page or refreshing the page every few minutes. Enable two-step verification and use Authy or Google Authenticator. SMS two-factor is extremely vulnerable and is being phased out by the industry. I've been hacked and lost all my Bitcoin twice. Trust me. Now you're probably saying, how do you get hacked twice? Well, neither one was on Paxful, but it was no two-factor and then SMS two-factor. Yeah, pretty retarded, right? Personally, I think Authy is the best because when you launch Authy, you have to put in a PIN to look at your codes. So even if somebody has your phone and is trying to get into your fucking accounts or whatever. Because, I mean, look, we all click save password on Firefox or whatever, or Opera. We all click save password. So, you know, your friend can come over to your house and just go to Paxful and click login. And if your phone's laying on the desk or whatever, guess what, man? Guess what just happened to you? You know? That's why having the PIN is important too. Anyway, I hope you guys got a lot of good info from this. You know, please remember to leave a comment if you have any questions. I'll do my best to answer. You know, I pay attention to my channel. And thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Good luck with trading your Bitcoin. And guys, please, I went through all the effort of making this video. Please click my referral link in the description when you sign up for Paxful. Please click my referral link. It doesn't affect you. I just get a little extra money on the side for you clicking that, and I appreciate that. It really helps out with stuff. So, thanks a lot. Good luck with your ventures. I hope you make a lot of money, and blessed be. Peace out, y'all.